this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and exciting times. Finally, a refresher of the Surface Pro 4. As you've already learned if you watch my 5 Minutes on Tech, it's not called Surface Pro 5. Microsoft's going to wait until they actually have really major things to change before they call it Surface Pro 5. But obviously, Surface Pro 4 is getting long in the tooth. It came out a while ago. They had to refresh it with Intel Kaby Lake. Those CPUs, 7th generation from Intel, have been shipping for many months on other products. So this is the refresh. When you take a look at it, you won't be able to tell the difference ostensibly between it and the Surface Pro 4. They look almost identical. When will it be available? June 15th, 2017. In the meantime, we visited Microsoft and went hands-on, and that's what you're going to see right now. Now, some things are going to change a little bit. For example, the pen, which, by the way, if you go to a Microsoft store, you should be able to see one on display, but they won't even have the pens available yet. It's still a work in progress. Anyway, we're going to look at it now. So here you can see, well, you got the same overall design, almost exact design, in fact, same magnesium casing and the same casing material color also. But if you look really closely, or more appropriately, feel more closely with your fingers, you'll notice that the corners are a little bit more rounded, the edges are a little bit less sharp, and that's a good thing because it did feel a little less finger-friendly in the old iteration. This is just a little bit more comfy to hold. The stand, as ever, kickstand, is a brilliant design. It will still dig into your legs. There's not much they could do about a thin metal edge. So those of you who wear shorts in the summertime, yeah, it's going to feel just as not so awesome as ever. The weight is pretty much the same. I don't know, some people are talking about how it's lighter. Yes, compared to old Surface models, maybe Surface Pro that is, it's 1.7 pounds, 770 grams, as the old model Core i5 was 1.73 pounds, so you're talking about really no change in weight there that's meaningful. The kickstand did get a little change though. It gains 15 degrees of further recline, so it can lay nearly flat. That means the most stable writing position where the hinge won't slowly collapse if you have a heavy hand and plop down, is pretty darn flat. That's a matter of taste and what works better for you. I prefer the old angle propped up a little bit, but I think a lot of people also like flat. Since the casing is the same, there's still no USB-C port. You know, Microsoft, they're just like, bleh, we don't like USB-C. Nobody wants it. That's what our surveys say. Well, be that as it may, and Microsoft will have a dongle adapter, which is almost like, you know, that's going to bake your noodle, because usually we see USB-A to USB-C adapters, or USB-C to USB-A, and now we're going to go the other way with an adapter, just in case you actually have a peripheral that has a USB-C connector that you need to plug in there. The connector on the bottom for the keyboard is exactly the same, the pogo pin connector there, so old type covers should work just fine. The Microsoft dock that already exists should work fine as well. The big change here really is, well, there are two things that are big. First off, we get, finally, Intel 7th generation Kaby Lake. We've been looking at those for at least a half a year now in competing machines, and finally Microsoft has updated. There's still dual-core 15-watt Ultrabook CPUs, and there's still a Core M option at the low end of the price range, starting at $799. So say you're looking at that kind of sweet spot, the Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig PCIe SSD. It's $1299 like it was before, but no pen in the box, and the pen, the updated pen, is $99 now. So functionally, for those of you who use the pen, and I think that's probably a strong segment of Surface Pro buyers, it got $100 more expensive. Couple that with the fact that Surface Pro 4s have been having some pretty aggressive sales, and probably will continue to, and it becomes a real canoodle as to which one you should buy. Battery life is going to be the other selling point, though. With the new Surface Pro, you get not that 6.5 hour of typical battery life that you did with Surface Pro 4, but Microsoft claims 13.5 hours now based on a Core i5 unit. That's phenomenal. That's double. That's a little bit suspicious because it has a 49 watt-hour battery now. That's up from 38 watt-hours. That'll get you some more battery runtime, but doubling, not so much. Okay, you get rid of the fan. The Core M model has no fan, and well, it never did before either, but the Core i5 doesn't have a fan either. The fan does use some power, maybe, but I'm kind of wondering about their claimed battery life, maybe with aggressive power profiles. Oh yeah, that fanless thing. A Core M CPU does not require a fan. A Core i, like Core i5, full Core i5, we're talking like Core i5 7300Us in here, not the Fulia Core MYI, you know, with Intel changing the names of things. Really, we have a real Core i5 in here, and also a real Core i7 option. The Core i5 doesn't have a fan, which is odd because it does by spec require a fan. So yes, Microsoft could have done some neat vapor cooling or something nifty like that. I am worried about thermal throttling, and that's something that I really can't tell you until we get one in-house for thorough testing and benchmarking there, because a Core i5, if you're working it hard, is going to get pretty hot. I don't see any means of passively cooling that's going to work. If you get the Core i7, you're still going to have a fan. And as ever, Microsoft offers a wide variety of configurations. So you've got a couple of Core i5s, you've got a couple of Core i7s going all the way up to Intel Iris graphics. All of these are still using Intel integrated graphics. So that's nice that you have a lot of choices there. The other way this got more expensive is the type covers got more frou-frou, more of that premium kind of thing. The $129 basic black type cover will remain on the market. But if you want some of those new pretty colors that match the Surface laptop, that kind of burgundy color, that pretty periwinkle blue, you get the idea there. Those are finished with the same Alcantara stuff, suede-like, faux suede finish there, and they're $169 now. Functionally, from hands-on, it doesn't feel any different. It doesn't seem to do anything different. So I think it's all about the premium cover on the type cover. Those of you who have an old type cover around, if you're going to sell your old Surface, you got a 3 or a 4, say, with a type cover, you probably could just stick with your old type cover and save some money. But again, the whole package gets more expensive again, which is a bummer. So if you want that Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and a 256 gig SSD, you want the pen, you want the type cover, you're looking at $1,300 for the base unit and then $260 on top of that for like $1,560. It's pricey. It's not out of this world expensive, but it's pricey. You still have a Windows Hello camera up front, a 5 megapixel front, 8 megapixel rear camera, 1.6 watt speakers with Dolby audio. It's too noisy in our venue to say if they sounded appreciably different from Surface Pro 4's already excellent speakers. Resolution of the display and the size stay the same, and it's 2736 by 1824 with that 3:2 aspect ratio. The units that we looked at, the panels were made by LG this time around. I'm assuming they're still IGZO. Last time they were made by Samsung, and they were IGZO, even though Sharp is known as the company that came up with IGZO. Looks about the same to me. I don't think there's an appreciable difference in color gamut there. Now let's talk about the pen. Now the pen is a work in progress. Like I said, if you go to a Microsoft store, they don't even have the new pens yet. As of this video, maybe in the coming weeks they will. I think that's because they're still really working on it. There's a lot of new tech going on, particularly on the software side this time. And yes, you get 4 times the pressure sensitivity. It goes from 1024 to 4096, which makes it competitive with Wacom's Better Solutions, for example. They make digitizers too, for those of you who don't know that. Yeah, so the pressure levels, even with 1,000, it can be enough. It really depends on the pressure curves. 9 grams of initial activation force, which is an improvement. N-trig digitizers, which is what the Surface uses, typically had high initial activation force. You have to press pretty hard before you got a mark on the screen. So that's better. It's still a little on the high side. Now, most of the technology is actually in the pen with N-trig devices. They update the circuitry inside the pen. They can make just minor changes to the digitizer layer on the display itself. So the pen obviously got a lot of working over here, but there's also software. They're trying to get rid of that hardware lag when you're drawing with the pen. Not that I thought it was hideous before with Surface Pro 4, honestly, but it's possible that micro lag might even be lessened with the latest gen Wacom Cintiq and Mobile Studio Pro products, which is about 20 milliseconds response time. Now, what Microsoft said is they have new custom silicone and a display accelerator, and they're using calls to the operating system, basically. Windows has an API that will help basically let the pen write directly to the display before the program that you're using actually catches up. Now, this might be easy to do in OneNote, and of course they're working with the folks at the Microsoft Office group to do, because you're just drawing simple lines for the most part. But the question is, what's going to happen in the many popular art programs that are out there for you, those of you who are artists and not note takers? I find it a little harder to believe that you're using some big complicated brush in Photoshop that it can possibly draw to the screen before Photoshop has any clue. That's just not how it works. They're going to have to switch over to that Microsoft UWP API, and that's the new Universal Windows program, the LiveTile app kind of thing. That may take some time. So I don't really hold a whole lot of stock in anything beyond your basic note-taking features really feeling that much accelerated. Again, when we actually get a unit in-house, we're going to go in-depth with the pen, and that new pen is backward compatible with Surface Studio, Surface Book, Surface Pro 3, and Surface Pro 4. And, by the way, you do get tilt. So there it is, simply called Surface Pro, essentially $100 more expensive, at least if you do want the pen. The good part is the pen is better than before, and it definitely needed a refresh. Pen technology is improving quickly, so they really have to keep up with that, and Surface Pro 4 just was starting to feel like not all that compared to some of the better competition in the world of pens out there. Is it expensive? Yes. Surface products always are. I find it bothersome that the Surface Pro line was always kind of the bread and butter. A lot of people bought them. I mean, I see them in Starbucks. People buy them for school. And the price is starting to get beyond what a lot of people are willing to pay, I'm afraid. That's the bad thing. And I'd like to see this be the not exactly every man's product, because it is still expensive even at the old pricing, but something that more people could actually aspire to own and use and take to school and keep around for several years. But that's what it is. When June 15th comes around, or sometime thereabout, we'll have a full review and we'll be able to tell you absolutely everything about this. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.